Hey, Monkey Nation, listen, we've been talking about this for a while now, and if you missed out on the last deal where you got $200 worth of free gear, check out what we've got going on right now. This is over at monkeywerxprep.com. You'll get a 3-month kit, and you'll save $200 right now, and that will not last forever, but for every 3-month kit you buy, you get $200 off, and that's a current special that's going. And remember, monkeywerxprep.com. Jump over there and get it now and get that food that you need to get you and your family through the crisis that is coming. It will not last forever. I'm telling you, when you need it, it's going to be hard to get. So don't wait. All right. That is monkeywerxprep.com. And you will be thankful that you did this. God bless. Monkey out. All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be your SITREP. It's 11:30 a.m. Central Time coming to you from the great state of Texas. It is 6/19/2023, and we are moving right along. So if you would, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, bell for notification. It helps the channel out quite a bit. And while you're doing that, let me jump over here to our mini board. It's a bit of a light day. If you're not familiar with this, it is Juneteenth. And if you're not familiar with what that actually means, it has to do with the freedom of slaves and the fact that when the original information got out about their freedom, many of them could not read, so many of their slave owners did not tell them that they were free. And this is about the time when they started to figure out that, hey, there's some other folks out here walking around free, and we are not. So anyway, and I just kind of added to that a little bit, but, you know, why not, right? But at the end of the day, it's kind of a sad situation and story if you really know the history of it. So, okay, so let's talk disinformation for a minute. I got a lot of email traffic coming and going. I've had other channels reaching out to me, asking me to validate some of the data that was going on out there. And so if you saw my thumbnail, the old disinformation 2 + 2 = 5, and it had a sheep. Yeah, it's because there's so many sheep out there. You see everything being published and you just want to believe it. And that is probably a testament to just how trusting we are as human beings. And that, I think, cycle is being broken, honestly, because people just, that trust factor is just not there, especially when it comes to our government, when it comes to our media. I think people are waking up rapidly to the fact that we have been lied to for a very long time. So, okay, so let's do this. Let me go down. I just want to show you this disinformation that was out there over the weekend, and just kind of poke some holes in it. Now, some of the photos that I received, I will tell you, I had to laugh at some of it because they were actual pictures of equipment on trains from mid-May. That they were talking about. It was happening right now over the weekend that these tanks are rolling out in cities and Ospreys landing in California. So we're just going to punch a hole in a couple. Listen, if you can poke holes in any bit of the information, then it is usually a disinformation campaign, and it's just there to put fear in you and to, keep us all in a disarray. So just do your own research, and you usually will find very quickly that there's a hole in that story somewhere, okay? So this one, for example, this tank's going down the road in Idaho. This one probably is what got everybody going, but if you were on to the local news there, it basically says that the Idaho Army National Guard was transitioning their some equipment from one location to another, and they told everybody they were going to be doing it. So that was the first instance that probably got a lot of people thinking, oh my God, they're rolling tanks out on the street. I heard about it in Philadelphia, etc. Then this one is the other one where they showed these Ospreys coming into California up near San Francisco landing. Well, that was basically training because Flashbang is headed that direction today. And in fact, when I show you the mini map here in just a second, you'll see that he's already in the air halfway across the United States. So those are two that, like I said, we didn't go through all of the stories because people were just starting to add to it, and they were taking pictures of, equipment on trains, et cetera. Now, when things do go hot like that, they will move things on train because you can't drive a tank, that far without having to put some fuel in it, and it will also destroy a street. So that's just data points for you, but. Anyway, it was all a lot of nonsense, and I just wanted to put that out there because I'm still being asked those questions this morning. And just so you guys know, it was all just a bunch of disinformation, something that the enemy does very, very well. All right. Okay, let's move on back to this shot here. Let's get into, again, right here in the center of my screen, you can see that is going to be NA. It's Air Force One, but it is NNA. And then we've got quite a few little blue and whites that are kind of up flying around today. Again, it's a federal holiday, but there are some folks moving. We have, if we get into, let's just pull this up while we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But this is where that is going because we're talking about the disinformation piece. This is going to be your TFR. You know who is associated with the TFR due to the size of the TFR. That would be these big giant rings. All right, that's because Flashbang likes to trip on stage and doesn't really know. As you can see, every time he's on stage, he's pointing to people, trying to figure out where am I supposed to go. And so when you have a president like that, you got to give him a lot more time. Thus, the bigger TFR boxes. I'm surprised they don't just section off half the United States is yellow and the other half is yellow, and we just know he's either on one side or the other based on that. But anyway, here is the other one. This is going to be Bob Marley moving out. That's going to be coming into Dallas. That's for a Juneteenth thing. Now, if you're looking at these boxes and you're like, what are those boxes? And you're not familiar with this, this is actually My Radar app. These are power outages. And some of the storms that came through, the red areas are really a lot of power that was out, usually associated with some frontline winds or tornadoes or something along those lines that take out power lines. But then the lighter boxes, the blue shades, are just less, so to speak. But you can see it was quite the event as it ran all the way across the southeast and continues to run across there. All right. So anyway, let's break back away from the TFR aspect of this. Let's get over to our watch list. We'll start with that today, and we're going to hit it here. Note 27 survey planes up right now. We do have a couple of the Phoenix birds up, like that one, for example, that's out flying around. It's a little Learjet 35, and then there's another one up a little further. But that's going to be the Doomsday plane. All right. And then there's Air Force One, as it was just getting airborne a little while ago. But a little G2, that's another one of the Phoenix Airbirds, again, agency aircraft. And then you got some NOAAs, but most of what you see on the screen right there are going to be, well, that's an air refueler. The B703s are third-party air refuelers. But everything else on there, 27 of those aircraft that you see are going to be survey planes. And then, of course, you've got the Hubble Intel balloons up, as always. Same thing here. You can see in the shot, the high altitude stuff. Survey plane, survey plane, survey plane. But the high altitude ones are going to be intelligence balloons. It's not a coincidence, folks, that both Germany and the United States are the only ones showing the air mil Intel balloons. That's going to be Brio 66. That's doing a little Intel gathering over the region around Kaliningrad, Belarus. And then those are going to be Ruskies, going to be the Russians. We'll take a closer look at them in just a minute to see where they have been flying to over the weekend. But you can see one popping down there towards the Black Sea, and the other looks like it was headed over towards China, and at least that general direction. All right. So let's go to Intel aircraft. Again, this is going to be mostly civilian stuff. A couple of the mil Intel side too, but not the balloons. That's Brio 68. And that one's doing some gathering over the DC area. All right. Then we go down a little south to see if we got anything in Central America, Mexico. Nothing there. And then over here to Europe, you can see Brio 66 is running routes again. This is additional. This is the last 3 days, so it's additional to what we just looked at. South of Kaliningrad, that's Russia, and then Belarus, pro-Russia. And then that, note there's a lot of stuff going on here. That's Jordan, Amman, Jordan and stuff in that area right along the border of Israel. There's something going on over in Amman, Jordan, folks. I don't know what it is, but we've got the Brits in there, the U.S. in there. We've got reports of troops being, relocated into there. So I don't know what it is, but something is afoot. And then this is going to be your Ruskies. All right. Notice the one headed down kind of right along the Ukraine border. It's the only one there. And then if we get over here to Japan, you can see we do still have, let me scoot down towards Taiwan. And we have a couple aircraft going back and forth from Taiwan to Singapore. And again, those are going to be the Ruskies, which is interesting, right? And then let's get into our 3-day surveys. Now, 176 the last 3 days, a little lighter, but based on the aircraft that are up this morning, I'd say that number's probably going to go back up. So they continue to do whatever it is they're doing. You got it out over Barcelona, you've got it over Portugal, you've got it up into Europe and Poland, and then you've got the one over Tripoli. Again, I don't think that's survey related, but then you've got this Australia again, just continues on. You've got them in Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, Tasmania. As you go up Brisbane, and then you head a little bit further north of that, we still continue to see a lot of activity in Australia. Then we get over here to Conus, and this is getting interesting because there's some longer moves. So it's almost like they're flying, looking at pipelines or something. I don't know. It could be transitioning like they were doing before, but it seems to be doing a lot of transitioning lately from one location to the next. So they could just be running some straight routes, grabbing some data along interstates or something along those lines. But this is interesting. Still very active. Like I said, 176 over 3 days. So it doesn't look like it's letting up yet on any level. All right. Now, let's get back over here. Let's get into the news cycle, see what we've got going on. Got a couple things happening. First and foremost, we'll look at the aircraft going in and out of Central and Southern United States and Central America. These are going to be your Swift Airs. Again, I do believe that they are supporting somebody like Amazon when we see them coming into the interior of the country, probably giving people, some work to do. For peanuts, pennies on the dollar, cheap labor and no benefits. And that's, there is plenty of that coming across the border. All right, that's where we are today. It's actually kind of a light day compared to what we have been seeing. And then we get over here to Flashbang, and then this is him headed into Santa Clara County, California. It looks like he is going to, this is always funny, when they throw their remarks in at 4:15 p.m., he delivers remarks on his administration's historic action to combat the climate crisis. There's that word again. Oh, mercy. Let's see. And create good, paying, clean energy jobs and to protect our environment for future generations. Yes. All right. Let's move on. Now, if you hadn't seen this, I almost wonder, I'm going to hit mute my mic so you don't get any feedback on this, but listen to what the Flashbang has to say here. Yeah, God save the Queen, man. Now, look, if you notice, I'll hit mute here while we watch him try to figure his way out. This is why he has large TFR circles, folks. See this? He's like, that way? No, that way. Which way do I go? And then some guy has to come up on stage and go, this way. Come right this way. Oh, man. What a scary scenario we have gotten ourselves into. Anyway, God save the Queen. Only thing I can think of is maybe he's firing a shot over the bow of Obama and Big Mike. That's, these guys like to talk in code a lot, and that may have been something like, hey, don't mess with me, man. God save the Queen. And we know who the Queen is. That's Big Mike. All right. So let's move on. Let's get over to this piece. Now, I started the show late today because I had I had Gorilla Dub come in. We did a little team bonding exercise this weekend with just kind of getting together and figuring out strategy going forward, et cetera, right? And so he was due to fly out yesterday, and he got to the airport and went into this perpetual delay with American Airlines, and they just called it at around time of death was around 2 a.m. And so then we get back, and then of course he wasn't supposed to fly out till later this afternoon, and then we get a text message saying, "Hey, your flight leaves in 2 hours. Yeah, make sure you're on it." So anyway, what's going on here? It looks like American Airlines has grounded 150 airplanes due to a pilot shortage. Well, if you know anything about their fleet, 150 airplanes is roughly 15% of their fleet. And that tells you they have got a very large shortage of pilots. So if you're traveling with American over the summer months with the family, or you're on a business trip, just make sure you plan accordingly, because more than likely you could be impacted by this shortage. In fact, you could be stranded by this shortage. So it doesn't bode well for the largest airline in the United States when they can't get pilots. So anyway, just a little data point for you, but what a bunch of nonsense. There's a reason why I just refuse to fly anymore, and this is one of probably the top three. So, all right, let's move on. Let's get over here to this piece. As you've got Xi and Blinken holding high-stakes meetings in an effort to stabilize the U.S.-China relations. Yeah, there's basically a lot of holes in the boat, folks, and there aren't enough fingers to plug those holes. But notice here, who is in stride and who is standing, not going anywhere with that little pterodactyl arm right there. Does that not look like a T-Rex, man? That little hand sticking out there. It is one, I don't know, that's probably the smallest hand I've ever seen on a human being. But yeah, so he is basically making Blinken come to him. But here's the thing. The big takeaway is the fact that I'm willing to bet that our administration doesn't even know that the coffin, the final nail has been put in the coffin, probably about a little over a year ago, when our supply chain just crumbled between us and them. You're starting to see it now with shortages in medicine. We're seeing it in shortages in other areas. It took a little longer than I expected. I thought maybe we would go short a lot earlier, maybe within 3 to 6 months. It just goes to show you just how embedded they were here for it to take that long to bleed down. So anyway, is it enough to, prevent us from going to war? Probably not, because then we get over to this article and it says, this is Defense News, and came out, this was June 12th, which was last Monday, but it says 5 urgent steps to prevent American military defeat in the Pacific. And the fact that that we're actually having to talk about these things, if you've noticed, everybody seems to be really focusing on other things. It's not brute force anymore. And in fact, we've been tracking the flights to know that the C-17s aren't going to the Asian Pacific realm. They're indeed going to Europe, which seems to be our focus. So it looks like we've pretty much left Taiwan to their own. We've decided we're going to go replicate the super chip conductor stuff here in the United States, and which that should have told Taiwan all they needed to know. But here are the top 5. This is a good laugh. So, number 1, enhancing the United States' ability to strike attacking Chinese forces. Number 2, strengthening Taiwan's ability to defend itself. Which, remember, we were talking about putting nukes in Taiwan. I don't know if we ended up doing that or not, but then bolstering the survivability of forward-positioned U.S. forces, right? We always talk about those forward operating bases. And, anyway, improving the ability of the United States and its partners, basically Taiwan, Japan, Australia, to all fight together. And then this one here, building a cyber-resilient U.S. infrastructure to support military mobility and economic continuity. If that is your strategy for going forward, we are in very, very deep kimchi, because the reality is you are sitting right off the shore of China, who has a very large army and a very large navy, and with very small amounts of forces. In fact, you've been taking from that force and sending it to Europe. So you would think that they would say, let's get all of our stuff back in there. Let's put in the troops. Let's put in our Navy and show a very robust effort, but doesn't look to be the strategy. So All right, here we go. Bitdefender cyber attacks. They've been on the uptick. We've been watching this for over 8 months now. And you can see it has not changed any, although this line right here seems to be quite steady, coming directly into the United States. I don't know where that's from. It almost looks like it's, yeah, I don't even know where that's from. Let's just move on. So, all right, here is your ForeFlight. This is a really good little planning tool, by the way. A lot of the pilots use it, but we use it to look at the NOTAMs, which is a notice to airmen. And I know that's not the new current term that they call, but that's what we're going to call it. Okay. So the yellow right here is high turbulence. So if you're traveling over these areas, you're going to be a bumpy ride, especially up here in Canada, up here in the Northwest, across Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, and then over here in the Southeast, if you got to get, east to west, that's going to be pretty bumpy as well. So I've been looking at some of the thunderstorms in these areas, and some of those, the supercells are 62,000 feet up. So you're not getting over that with commercial traffic. You're going to have to go around it. So anyway, these are going to be your NOTAM boxes. Most of these are fire boxes here in Canada. And we've got the usual stuff here on the West Coast and the East Coast. Of course, we already talked about Flashbang headed to California, Bob Marley headed to Texas, and then that is your senior living center right up there. All right, let's jump over here to Europe and notice just north of Scotland, we still have a pretty big box for mill exercises. Ukraine's completely covered up. Poland's completely covered up. Now, keep in mind, we've got this exercise going on, and that doesn't wrap up until the 22nd, I believe. It's the biggest NATO exercise we've talked about already, called Air Defender 23, 10,000 personnel and 250 aircraft. So it's quite a big exercise or a show of force over there. But it will run until, June 23. So we've got another 5 days or so until this is over. All right. Now, here's one. Behind Europe's ammo pledge to Ukraine, some manufacturers are growing a little leery. It's the same situation we have here in the United States, just to sum it all up. They have basically overcommitted, and Ukraine is going through this stuff lock, stock, and barrel because they're not having to pay for any of it. And so they are just blasting through it, literally. And what it means is that just like the United States, Europe is basically starting to lose their ability to fight a war themselves because they've given it all over to the Ukrainians. All right. So anyway, that's kind of the big takeaway from the story. So let's get into what's going on at the bases. This is going to be your camber flights. Again, a little bit of a light day. We've got some stuff coming out of, looks to be currently over Northern Africa. And looks like that came out of Bahrain. And then we've got this one, Olu. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. I don't even know where that is. But then this one here in Nuremberg. So, yeah. All right. I tell you, these names that people come up with, I don't know whatever happened. It's almost like I stroked out or something, and I just cannot for the life of me pronounce half of these stinking words. So, all right, let's get down here. This is going to be Biggs Army Airfield, or Fort Bliss is on the other side of it there, but it's all one big giant area. And it looks like we've just got one A319 Airbus coming in from Allegiant Air. That's coming in from Detroit. And then this one here, we've got, looks like that one's going to turn right around and head up to Pittsburgh from Fort Biggs. Now, I don't know, again, if that's troops. The smaller aircraft typically are not. They typically are tied to some type of an immigrant move. But, we'll continue to watch and see if it goes up or down or what the deal is. All right, let's get this over here to, where are we skipped over today? All right, we're heading straight into Ramstein. And it looks like we've got a Navy bird coming in, one that's going to be the Husky 706. That is also, that's a C-130 usually, call sign, and then these two reach. Very light day. And then over here on the outbound side, we've got a Spar 87. That's going to be one of your blue and white dignitaries leaving Ramstein. One camber flight, 67200, headed back to Baltimore. And that's probably troops, maybe a rotation. And then this is Kaleta Air 747 headed towards Amsterdam. That's one of your big, just giant white 747s. And let's get over here to our forward operating base, German Air Force coming in. That's the first one up. Let's go on down, see what else we have here. And another German Air Force. So that's 2 German Air Force birds coming in, 1 British right here. And then a Camber Flight 747-400. Looks like that came inbound from Ramstein. Let's see if we got any pending. Not seeing it. Let's get on up. Very, very light at this forward operating base. Oh, let's see. 1 German Air Force. The Coletta looks to be headed to Seoul, Korea from there. And then this Atlas Air also headed over to Hong Kong from RZE. All right. Now, remember, when they're flying out of there, they don't actually have anything on them to fly direct. So if you see them leaving that location and heading across over here, they'll go across sometimes over India and then into China like this down here to Hong Kong. China will actually let them fly over their airspace if they don't have any munitions or if they don't have any troops on board, right? If it's just a cargo flight, they'll let them do it. So they'll go that direction from RZE, and then coming back, they'll actually just keep going the same direction, just on around the globe. So, all right. Let's see. What do we have here? This is going to be National Cargo, all 747s. One coming out of Saib International, another from Adolfo, that's Madrid, Spain. Another Saib, and then Hong Kong. So you've got some stuff going on down here in the Middle East. Looks like this one coming out of Hong Kong, and then these 2 across Europe. That's going to be National Cargo. Again, those guys are usually flying equipment. So the fact that the offensive is underway for Ukraine, they are going through equipment. My understanding was they've already basically lost 15 to 20% of the stuff that we've provided in this effort. And so we're probably replenishing it, if I had to guess. All right. And then this is going to be Western Global. Looks like we've got one coming down from Alaska, again to Los Angeles. And then one looks like it came out of Australia, headed over to Hawaii. Then over here to Omni, coming out, let's see here. Is that Manchester? Yeah, Manchester, England, over. Looks like it's headed into Toronto. And that's the only one we have on the board for them. And then let's take a look at, okay, this is going to be your NATO birds coming out of Eindhoven, headed north. They're level at 21,000 feet, 450 miles an hour. Destination unknown. And then last up, going to be the Brits. Now, this board has cycled. I will tell you, it had probably a dozen on it 2 hours ago. But it looks like it is now kind of winding down. You've got one coming out of Halifax, headed back to the UK. And then this one here coming out of what looks to be Cyprus, heading southbound, southeast. Level at 29,000 feet, 600 miles an hour. That's scooting. So don't have any idea what the aircraft type is for the second one, but the top one there from Halifax is an A400, so it's going to be a turboprop. Okay, well, listen, that is going to do it for our SITREP today. We'll continue to watch again. Just keep your ear to the ground. There's a lot of weird things going on, but most of the time, somebody is cycling some type of old information, or they're pushing out disinformation without pulling the thread themselves to do the research. They just throw it out in a panic, and it gets legs more times than not, even though you'd think we'd be getting wise to it. But, you know, you cry wolf enough, and then when the wolf does show up, everybody's like, nah, it can't be real. So, all right, listen, that's going to be it. You guys, I hope you have a blessed rest of the day, and we will see you on Wednesday with our SITREP, next SITREP. That's it. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworxus.com.